Hi, welcome to Gentle Flow. So this is another really nice slow-paced class to open up the body, looking at opening up the hips today. So a couple of props that might be useful. If you do have a couple of bricks about this kind of size, I think I mentioned these for the last class and then we didn't necessarily use them, but if you do have them for this class, it will be super handy. And you can also swap these in for a couple of water bottles that are the same size or a couple of sturdy books. However, if you haven't got them, don't worry, can totally make do without. So just if you happen to have them, a couple of bricks. The things that you'll definitely want are a couple of cushions and then a folded up blanket or towel. So definitely grabbing a couple of cushions or a couple of pillows, a folded up blanket or a towel just for cushioning the knees. And then coming to start today in child's pose. So bringing the knees wide and bringing the big toes together and coming to sit on the heels. So you can grab one of your cushions or a pillow and pop it in between the thighs and the calves if you'd like. Or if you're comfortably on the heels, then you can be on the heels. If at any point you would like to take child's pose with the knees together, so you get more of a rounding of the spine, then you're welcome to do that, because child's pose can be either way. So have a little play around and see what feels good for you. So you can either be knees together and then coming forwards, forehead to the ground, or to a pillow. Or if you prefer, you can have the knees wide and then come forward in between the legs. So totally your choice, which one feels good, and finding yourself into a place that feels comfortable for you, feels like what your body needs. And then getting cozy here and sending your breath into the back of your body if you can. So just like we were doing in the first class, breathing deeply into the lower ribs, into the side of the ribs and the back of the body. So staying in your child's pose for a few minutes at the start of class. Maybe the breath also can find space to come into the belly. Starting by taking a few deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth, if that feels good for you. So as you inhale, expanding into the back of the body, into the belly. Exhaling, allowing the body to release maybe any tightness that's being held in the body, maybe any stress from the day. Using this breath to help ground yourself both physically and emotionally. Maybe beginning to notice if there are any tight spots, any places in your body that you're aware of in the back of your mind. As you inhale, sending your breath to any of those places. Exhaling, releasing away any tension that's being held there. And maybe taking a moment at the start of your practice today to set an intention for today. So maybe it's to listen to your body, to go with what it needs rather than what you think it should be doing. Maybe it's to be kind to yourself if you end up struggling with anything today. So just allowing your body to do what it needs without any judgment. Thinking about what it is that you need today to get from this practice, why you're doing this practice, what it means to you, what you hope to get from it. And breathing that intention for your practice into the body on your next inhale. And on your next inhale, pressing into the hands, lifting the head, and then coming up into an all fours position. So hands underneath the shoulders into that comfortably wide handprint position, knees underneath the hips, allowing the spine to be long, gaze down in between the hands. And then we'll take a few of those cat-cow poses. So as you inhale, starting from the tailbone, lifting the hips, and then rolling through the spine, the chest draws through the arms, the gaze lifts. Exhale, pressing through the hands, tucking the tailbone under, and then finishing by tucking the chin. So working through this at your own pace, getting the feeling of this really gentle opening and closing of the spine. Seeing if you can literally move one vertebrae at a time. So inhaling to open and expand. And then exhaling as you tuck them round. Coming through one more time wherever you are. Gently moving through the spine. And coming back to center, drawing the spine long. Pressing down into your right palm, lifting your left hand and bringing it underneath the right arm, palm to the sky. And then bending the right arm to bring the left cheek down to the mat or down to a pillow. So it may be that you use both hands to help lower yourself down here. You come onto a forearm and then you bring yourself down. So you can come down nice and easy here. And then whenever you're ready, reaching the right arm forward. So coming into a little twist and a little opening of the shoulders. Maybe the eyes closed for a moment. And then drawing the right hand back in when you're ready. Pressing into the right hand and coming back up. So feel free to stay on your left forearm if you want. And bringing the left hand back down. Coming on to the other side. So right hand lifts, palm to the sky, sliding underneath the left arm and lowering down onto your right cheek. You can come onto a cushion here. And then when you're ready, reaching your left arm out in front. So you're kind of opening the left shoulder and the left chest as you're closing and twisting through the right shoulder and the right chest. When you're ready, drawing the left hand back in, pressing through the left hand, using the right forearm if you want to help you come back up onto your hands and knees. And then whenever you're ready, grounding down through both hands, tucking the toes under, Lifting the hips, pressing through hands and feet, coming into your first downward facing dog. So taking a generous bend in the knees for your first down dog and concentrating on letting the head become heavy, gaze between the legs, grounding down through the knuckles of the 10 fingers if you can. And then when you're ready, on your next inhale, walking your feet slowly up to meet your hands at the top of the mat. Bringing the hands onto the shins or the thighs, drawing the spine long, gazes down, coming into halfway lift. And then exhale, releasing forward. Maybe you keep the legs straight, maybe you bend them. Hands can come to the ground, the arms can dangle, you can come into a ragdoll, whatever feels good for you. Feel free to take a bend in the knees if that feels better. Inhale, rolling up to stand all the way through the spine. Arms can come out to the side or in front, up overhead. Following with the gaze, palms come together and lowering down in front of the heart. So let's come through our first sun salutation or first vinyasa. Inhale, arms come out to the side or reaching forwards, up and overhead, palms together, hinging at the hips, coming down into forward fold. Gaze is between the legs, head is relaxed. Inhale, bringing the hands to the shins or to the thighs, opening up, bringing the gaze down, spine is long, halfway lift. Exhale, bending the knees, bringing the hands down by the ground, and stepping one foot and then the next back into plank. Option to bring the knees down here straight away or taking one breath with the knees lifted. Reaching out through the heels of the feet and then lowering the knees down, untucking the toes. Coming down to the ground here, so bending the elbows and lowering down, and of course you can come down onto your forearms if you like. Whatever way coming down feels good for you. Pressing through the hands, bringing the shoulders down the back as you peel up, coming into either baby cobra, so that's where you can kind of hover the fingers if you wanted, or maybe you come further up into a bigger cobra, whatever feels good for you. Lowering back down when you're ready. Pressing through the hands, all coming up onto the forearms, onto the knees, and then tucking the toes underneath. Coming back into downward facing dog. So whatever feels good here in downward facing dog for you. Maybe keeping that big bend in the knees. Maybe a really gentle and slow pedal out through the feet. Or maybe you begin to see what it feels like to straighten the legs. On your next inhale, we're going to bring the right foot forward in between your hands at the front of the mat. So it may be that you take this in a few steps, kind of like that, and then use your hand to bring it forward. Or it may be that the foot comfortably comes all the way forward. So taking your time to bring the foot forward and keeping the hands to the ground here. And then when you're ready, lowering the back knee down. So if your knees are feeling a little bit sensitive, it might be that you want to grab a blanket and pop it underneath your knees here, just for a little bit of cushioning. It's kind of quite nice, especially if you've got knobbly knees like I have, or sore knees. And then you can either keep the toes tucked or you can untuck them. So either one's fine. That's just what feels good for you. And then from here, bringing the hands up to your thigh. We'll come into a little low lunge. So opening up the front of the hip on the left side. Option to stay with the hands on the thighs, or if you want to, you can reach the arms up and overhead. And then bringing the hands back down to the ground. Keeping the left hand on the ground and allowing the right arm to lift up towards the sky, coming into an open twist. So it may be that the hand comes right up to the sky, or it may be that if you're feeling a little sore in your shoulders, that you'd rather bring the hand behind the back. So the aim here is to open up the chest. So reaching up with the fingertips if your hands open and lifted. And exhale, hand back down to the ground. So removing any blankets or whatever you might have under your knee. And then slowly bring in the right foot back onto your all fours position. Tucking the toes under and coming back into downward facing dog. So at any time we're taking downward facing dog, feel free to stay in all fours or come into child's pose. It's about picking what feels good for your body today. And then bringing the left foot forward in between the hands. So again, you can do the stepping and use your hand to get it there. Or if it feels okay to bring the foot all the way forward straight away, bringing it forwards. And then lowering the back knee down. So you may want your nice little squishy blanket or cushion underneath your back knee. I know it's certainly nice for me having that there. And bringing the hands or the fingertips to the ground. Whenever you're ready, option to bring the hands up to the thigh, and you can have the toes untucked or tucked, whatever's best for you. And then either staying with hands on thigh or reaching up overhead, finding something to focus on to help you balance. Reaching up tall with the fingertips. Exhale, bringing the hands down to either side of the foot, allowing the right hand to stay down, opening up. Left hand comes to the sky in a twist, or if it feels better, it can come behind the back. So finding whatever position you're feeling today, whatever your body's feeling. If your hand's lifted, reaching up with those fingertips, reach. And then hand comes back down to the ground. You can either remove the blanket now, or you can step back with your left foot and then remove it, so whatever feels best for you. And then pressing through the hands, coming back into downward facing dog or into child's pose. Taking a couple of breaths here. Checking in that your head's staying nice and relaxed, that Mr. Neck isn't doing too much work today. And then stepping, or maybe taking those bigger steps, or a lunge, coming to the top of the mat. When you get there, bringing the hands to the shins or the thighs, spine comes long, halfway lift. Exhale into forward fold. Inhale, rolling up through the spine. Arms come out to the side, up overhead, reaching tall. And hands come to prayer in front of the heart. So let's come through that one more time. And if you've got any blocks or any of those replacements handy, you might want to have those somewhere close to the top of your mat. So on your next inhale, arms come out to the side or the front, up overhead. Palms come together, hinging at the hips, diving down into forward fold. Hands to shins or thighs, halfway lift, spine comes long. Exhale, bending the knees, bringing the hands by the feet and stepping back into plank. Option to bring the knees down or to take a breath in plank, reaching from the tip of the head to the heels, seeing if you can get your body as long as possible, and then lowering the knees down, untucking the toes and finding your way down to the ground. Once you get there, pressing through the hands, rolling the shoulders and inhaling, maybe baby cobra or maybe into a bigger cobra, whatever you're feeling today. Exhale, lowering back down. And then pressing through the hands, finding your way back up onto your knees, tucking your toes under and rising up into downward facing dog. So getting a feeling of the feet and the hands grounding down as the hips lift high, so kind of in this A shape. On your next inhale, bringing the right foot forward in between the hands, so either stepping it forward or maybe it comes forward in one step. Either one is absolutely fine. Option to bring a blanket under that back knee if it feels good, and lowering the back knee down. So as before, toes can be tucked or untucked. If you do have your blocks, you may want to grab hold of them, and we're going to use them long ways. If you haven't got any blocks, then fingertips can stay down to the ground. So as you exhale, if you've got blocks, walking back with your blocks so that the leg straightens and the right toes lift. So if you've got blocks, you'll just find that you can sit a little taller in this position. It's kind of nice for the spine to be able to have that length. But if you haven't got the blocks, then you can absolutely bring fingertips down. You can rest a hand on the bent leg. If you've got, your piles of cushions and pillows, you can make yourself a little base as well. So have a little play around. It's not essential to have these, it's just they're a nice kind of support. So opening up the back of the leg, and then inhale, walking forwards. So we'll take a couple of these, rocking forwards and backwards, opening up the front of the hip, opening up the back of the leg. And coming back. And then as you come forward, if you have got any blocks, allowing them to come off to the side, bringing the hands down by the feet and allowing that right foot to come back into your all fours position. So if you've got anything under the knees, you might want to remove that, take it off to the side. Bringing the hands back down, tucking the toes, lifting up and back into downward facing dog. When you're ready, bringing that left foot forward in between the hands, taking your time to get it there, and setting up on this side. If you do want a little blanket, maybe it feels okay. If you want a nice squishy carpet, maybe you're all right to go without. And then if you have got your blocks, feel free to grab hold of them. And as you exhale, walking the blocks back as you straighten the front leg, lifting the toes. So exploring what it feels like on this side. Normally there's one leg that's a little tighter than the other. So how does the back of the left leg feel? How does the front of the right hip feel? So taking a few rocks forward and backwards here. And sending your breath into any of those little tight spaces. Coming forward one last time. And then bringing any blocks or props you have off to the side. And allowing the left foot to come back. And removing any blankets or any cushioning that you had. Coming back to all fours, tucking the toes, lifting the hips into downward facing dog one last time. Allowing the hips to reach high, the head to be soft, maybe getting a feeling of the chest sinking down. And then stepping or maybe lunging, coming to the top of the mat, bringing the hands to the shins or the thighs when you get there into halfway lift. Exhale, release to forward fold. And perhaps bringing one hand inside of the elbow, other hand inside of the other elbow, taking a ragdoll here and having a little rock from side to side if that feels good. And then maybe swapping the hands so different ones inside. And then finding stillness, allowing the arms to release, rolling up through the spine as slowly as you can. Head comes up last. And arms out to the side, reaching up overhead. Palms come together, back to standing. From here, bringing your feet to as wide as the mat and having the toes slightly out and the heels slightly in. So we're going to come down into what's called a malasana squat, so just another way of saying a squat basically. If this doesn't feel good on your knees, then please don't feel like you need to come down the whole way, and you can absolutely come down into any other seated position that feels good. If you happen to have cushions or blocks, what you might want to do is to bring something behind the body so that you can choose to have a little sit on it if you want. It's a really nice way to take a relaxing version of this pose, and I particularly like it. I think it's really good. So bending through the knees, allowing the hips to lower. It may be that you use your hands to help you come down. You might want to bring a hand behind the body. So something that feels stable, and you can come to sit on cushions or on your block if you like. So if that feels comfortable wherever you are, then feel free to stay here. You can bring the hands together and allow the elbows to come inside of the knees, and then open up the knees using the elbows, drawing the chest forward as if you're trying to get it forward towards the hands. So that helps the spine come long. So if for any reason you haven't got anything to sit on and this isn't feeling particularly good, you're welcome to come up onto the toes and bring the hands in front. Have a little rock from side to side here. So that's a really nice alternative if that feels better. And if you're wanting something a bit more active, you're always welcome to remove any blocks and to come into the squat without any support. So it's whatever you're feeling. If none of those feel good, then absolutely feel free to take just a comfortable seated position for a couple of breaths. But yeah, it's certainly nice to have a little support underneath. So seeing if you can allow the spine to be long wherever you are, and especially if you're in the seated version, seeing if you can draw the chest forward towards the hands, the palms press together as the elbows press into the knees, getting a nice little opening through the inner hips. Taking one last breath here in this hip opener, whichever version you're taking. And then when you're ready to come out, bringing the hands behind the body, removing any props or anything you might be sitting on, and then taking yourself slowly down to sit. So you may need to move any cushions and bits and bobs just off to the side. They could be quite handy for this next one, so keeping them handy. And then allowing the legs to come long. If that feels really comfortable sitting in this position, then feel free to stay here. If you notice you're rounding a little bit or it's feeling a little bit too tight on the back of the legs, grab a cushion, a block or something like that and pop it underneath the hips, and that will help the spine to feel a bit longer, takes a little bit of pressure off the legs as well. So have a little play around with that. And then once you're comfortable, drawing the right knee into the chest, opening the right knee out to the side so that the foot comes against the left thigh. And then turning the body just slightly so that it feels like it's facing that left leg. Inhale, reaching up with the arms, and exhale, coming forwards. So it may be as you come forwards that the hands come down and actually staying quite tall feels really good. So if that feels great with that little opening in the hip there and coming to about here, then stay there if that feels good. You can absolutely bring cushions and things like that, so you've got a nice little bit of something to feel cozy against. And of course, if it feels good to come down further, you're welcome. So you can come down to elbows. You can allow the head to come down. You know, maybe there's a bind around the foot. So sometimes in these positions, it can feel that the forehead needs to come to the knee, or, you know, your body needs to be in a certain place. You know, I had really, really tight hamstrings for a very long time, so I understand that feeling of wanting to create these positions that we see other people in, but actually being really mindful not to overstretch your hamstrings. Sometimes it can feel really good on the day, and then the next day it doesn't feel as good. So listening to what your body's saying, if it's feeling really tight in the back of your legs, then actually taking the pose, sitting up more, will bring a lot more benefit, and it will increase your flexibility over time. So allowing yourself to be tall if that feels good, and breathing into the spaces in the body. Checking in with your breath. Is it feeling relaxed? Is there holding there? Making sure there isn't any pain or discomfort in any muscles, especially in the back of the leg or the back of the knee. And staying wherever you can feel comfortable, in a place where you maybe begin to feel a stretch, but it's a comfortable place to hang out for a while. So taking a couple more breaths wherever you are, and knowing that whatever your body is doing is completely okay. On your next inhale, coming back up to center, bringing a hand underneath your right knee, straightening out the right leg, maybe bringing the hands behind, giving the legs a little shake, and then drawing the left knee in, and the foot comes onto the right thigh, turning the body slightly so it's meeting the right leg. It might be that you want to kind of rearrange where you're sitting. Inhale, reaching tall, and exhale, maybe stay tall, maybe you come forward just slightly, maybe a bit more. So this leg might feel completely different. It might be a lot tighter, there might be a bit more space. So seeing if you can sit in this pose without a feeling of judgment of where you're meant to be. If we work on flexibility really gently and slowly, it tends to be a lot more effective and kinder to the body than trying to force the body into poses that it doesn't want to be in. So coming back to that feeling at the start of class of knowing that an advanced practitioner is the one who listens to their body, not the one who necessarily goes the furthest into the pose. And allowing yourself a few breaths here. Breathing into any spaces which might need it. And then backing out if that's maybe better for the body. Knowing that whatever space you're in is the right space for you. On your next inhale, coming back to center wherever you are, drawing the left knee in, straightening out the left leg, Hands behind the body, giving the legs a little shake. And then scooting up to about halfway up your mat, lowering down carefully onto your back, maybe using your elbows to come down. And once you get there, lifting the feet, keeping the knees bent, coming into happy baby. So reaching in between the knees and grabbing hold of, often the outside of the feet can feel better, but if the inside's better for you, then to be honest, there really isn't a right or wrong with happy baby. So it's holding on to whichever places on the feet feel comfy. And getting a sense of drawing the knees down towards the armpits, towards the mat, and flexing the feet, so lifting the toes towards the shins. And maybe you are still in your happy baby, maybe you're a baby that wants to have a little rock from side to side. Taking a few breaths here wherever you are, whatever you're feeling. Seeing if your head can rest on the mat and if the chest can feel open. One more deep breath here. And then wherever you are, letting go of the feet, allowing the legs to lengthen out onto the ground. Coming into Shavasana, the final resting pose, the relaxation at the end of yoga practice. So finding a place where you're cozy. Maybe you pop a blanket underneath your knees or something underneath your head. And maybe the legs stay bent, or maybe they open up, maybe the hands open up. So finding a position that feels really good for you, where you can feel open and relaxed. Taking a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Noticing maybe the points of your body that have contact with the mat. The heels, the back of the legs, the glutes, the back, the shoulders and the arms and the hands, and then the back of the head. Maybe noticing a feeling of melting down through all of those areas into the mat. As if your body was like honey being poured, and it's spreading out, opening out, melting down. Maybe thanking your body for whatever it's been able to do in class today, and thanking yourself for listening into your body, for checking in with what it needed. Giving yourself a few moments of quietness and calmness, allowing your body to rest. Maybe for the last few breaths, seeing if you can create some space in any areas where there might still be tightness. So maybe in between the eyebrows, the forehead, maybe the jaw, the shoulders and the hips. As you exhale, breathing space into all of those areas. If you've got a few more minutes that you can stay here, I really encourage you to hang out and enjoy this restful pose. And at any time that you're ready to come out, taking real care to come out gently, rolling over onto the side before coming up. I hope you've enjoyed this gentle, slow flowing class today, and I really look forward to practicing with you again soon. Namaste.